Good morning while he's working. Welcome back, guys. All right, last video, we got this front end all tied together. Got the front air dam piece in here. I don't know what else to call it. Upper radiator support, I guess. And we got that adapted to the OBS core support. Got the inner fender wells all in on both sides. I figured, well, since I'm working on all the front end stuff, I might as well go ahead and fit the hood. All right, so as I've stated in previous videos, this is not the correct hood for this truck. Now, this hood is actually for pre-1954 years, 53 and earlier, because it is completely flat down on the bottom here, these corners. And on the 54 and 55 trucks, they actually curl down just a little bit. They curve into this corner. Now, this is unique for 2 years only. So I've been unable to find another hood for this thing. Of course, they're very difficult to find. Now, the other challenge I'm going to have is the hinges. These earlier hinges versus the 54 and 55, the bolt spacing is different. As you can see right there, they do not match and line up. All right, before I get into the hood too deep here, one thing I do need to do is I need to go get this drive shaft dropped off, get it shortened up. This is the original motorhome drive shaft. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take off this front section because we don't need it anymore. And then what we'll do is we'll just remove that carrier bearing and we'll use that slip yoke right there. And that'll go to the transmission. And then we'll just take that and put that right back on the rear end where it was originally. Back from the drive shaft shop, and I couldn't stand all the Bondo on the front of this thing, so I went ahead and removed all that. And then I just went around all the edges. It's got obviously a lot of rust holes here, you know, around here in the front. It's really thin. Obviously this piece here is pretty well rotted out, but I'm not going to do anything about any of that stuff. I'm not going to fix it. This here, again, same thing over here. So that thing, basically, it is what it is. Now, I know these things are not perfect from the factory. I know they do not fit wonderful. So we're just gonna get it looking halfway decent-ish if we can. I know this thing is bent and tweaked. Like over here, it looks okay, but over here, it's too far in. Yeah, see, it doesn't line up great up here. I'm just gonna have to start pulling on it, stretching it, and figuring it out. I almost feel like this needs to be pulled out too. Better, actually. Get that one back. See, this thing is like oil canned, if you will, and I'm not really sure what I need to do to fix that. I don't know if this front corner is pushed in and it's making this come out weird or pushed in weird. I don't know. I've got the hood clamped on the other side of the table. I'm just gonna give this just a little pull and see. I just don't know how to grab it, you know, and pull on it. There's nothing to, it's one of those oddball things, you know. Let me clamp it to the table. Nope, that didn't hold. Let's try that one more time. Okay, well, that may have worked. All right, let's get really stupid here. This vice grips won't hold it. Made it worse or better? Well, I definitely bent this out over here. I bent it too much, actually. Oh, this thing is not wonderful. I don't like these corners. I got a gap here, I'm tight back here. I'm gonna turn the camera off. I'm just gonna mess with this. I'm not gonna waste your time. I was thinking I would like to get the edges and everything fitting good before I do the hinges, but I might have to throw the hinges up there, figure those out first and get those set. That way at least I know the top is kind of set down where it needs to be, and then I can figure out the bottoms down here. I mean, I can hammer and grind and cut and do all kinds of, you know, nonsense down here to make them fit. I just got some peel and stick of these felt pads. I'm gonna throw a couple on there for now. I'll order all the right bushings. So I'm just gonna kind of use what I can just to try to get my spacing correct. Because with it sitting on metal right now, it's throwing me off as far as how to align it. Okay, well, that actually helped a lot. That actually made a difference. This one over here looks a lot better. I seem to remember a story of Steve telling me about a hood that flew off into a field off the back of the truck. I don't know if it was this hood or another one. This could have been the hood that went flying. All right, guys, next morning. I have been on quite the educational journey with this thing. Bear with me here. I'm gonna explain a few things and kind of, maybe this will help somebody in the future. I don't know, but let me show you what's going on. All right, so I had some challenges with the hinges yesterday, and I'll get into that in a minute. And then I started scouring the internet yesterday after I turned the camera off to see if I could find another set of hinges or if I could find another hood. And of course, I can't find anything. Nothing's out there. I made a couple posts on some COE Facebook pages and whatnot, trying to locate some hinges. Some people left me some links to a guy that actually makes them out of billet aluminum, which are super nice. They're absolutely beautiful, but they're $450 for the pair, and I just do not want to spend $450 for hinges for this thing and have really nice blingy billet hinges on this crusty truck. To me, it's just not worth it. So then I got to thinking, okay, I'm just gonna reuse the hinges that I have, even though they're incorrect. I'm gonna try to make them work. So I went ahead and I drilled new holes in the cowl, and then I had to drill 2 new holes in the hood. Now I got both hinges on okay, but when I went to open the hood, that created some problems. Now, unfortunately, I placed the hinge in the wrong position. The hinge point or the fulcrum point needs to be further up on the cowl. So where this hinge is stepped up right here, this actually goes up over the cowling right here, but I can't go back because it hits the base of the windshield here. So when I open the hood, what that's doing is it's causing the hood to dig into the cowl. And then when I went to close it, it was actually hitting the old bushings here, causing it to bend up, and I actually bent the hood. So that sent me down the path of what else could I use. Instead of modifying those original hinges, I was looking at actually hinges for trunk lid for like a 1937 Chevy COE. Those are very similar. They're like 8 inches in total length, and I think those would work. I was even looking at like Jeep door hinges or hood hinges, any type of exposed hinge that looked halfway decent. I honestly don't care at this point. I just need it to function. So I think probably the unpopular decision is I'm just going to modify those hinges. So what I'm going to do is the bolt holes. There's one bolt hole about right here, and then there's another one about right here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the back of this hinge off, and then I'm just going to move this whole hinge assembly rearward until it basically hits the cowl back here. But that will get this part of the hinge further back on the hood where I need it. Those hinges are pretty well trashed anyway. The pins are completely loose. One of them's cracked. The casting's cracked. I have them. I can't find any other ones. It is what it is. Unfortunately, that's the headache with trying to make a hood that doesn't fit the truck. Another thing I've been learning about these hoods is these hoods did change quite a bit. Not only did I mention earlier the 54, 55 hoods actually curl down into this corner, but there is also an extra piece that is stamped into the steel down here at the bottom of the hood on the 54 and 55s that actually kind of bring it out a little bit more. Now, I'm not worried about fixing this. The sheet metal portion of this up here on the front end, making it all work, I'm not worried about. I can take care of that easily enough. It's just getting the hood hinges correct and getting the hood to operate correctly. Now, I scoured the internet all morning looking at pictures of these trucks and the hoods and the front ends of these things. And I would say probably 90% of them, if not more of them, the hood fitment on them for the most part, even really nice trucks, nicely painted ones, the hood fitment's pretty terrible. And I know that, so I have to get over that in my head as I'm trying to tell myself, look, it doesn't matter. All right, that should get me started at least. All right, that is much closer to where I need to be. Now this hole here was up here originally, and now if I slide this all the way back until it touches back here on the cowl, that gets this back here. Okay. Oh man. That's funny. All right, by doing that, it falls right back into the original holes that this hinge, because this hinge matches this hood, so now the hinge will bolt right back up to its original spot. And I didn't need to drill the other 2 holes, so I'm gonna have to weld up one of them now, because you can see it. It is what it is. But that puts the hood where I need it to be. Now you can see the hole that I drilled here, but now this thing, these hinges have a little boss on them that stick down and they go inside this. This is the original hole here. So now it'll sit exactly where it's supposed to originally. What that does is that puts this thing right at the edge of the hood where it's supposed to be. This has been, a lot of mistakes have been made with this so far. Hey, it's all part of the learning process, right? So, you know, apparently engineers know what they're doing when it comes to the hood hinges and all that stuff. And some ding-dong lawnmower mechanic comes along and tries to reinvent the wheel. All right, I've got this thing on. Let me lift it and see what the hinge does and all that. That's about as high as they go anyway. So now when I drop it, it's not hitting the cowl anyway. But now we just gotta figure out our alignment here. All right, I think that's gonna work. The gap's probably a little bit more than it should be originally, but it is what it is. This is sticking out down here. These corners need to be trimmed and moved in because it's really binding up on the fender here and here as well. This corner's pushed out real bad over here. And then this in here is pushed in. I just cannot get this to come out. There's something about the metal over here that's just funky. There's something going on with this whole side of the hood in the front corner. I think I'm gonna cut these corners next and try to relieve that pressure to see if that hood maybe will nestle down a little bit more. All right, now we'll give that a little love tap. Bring that in a little bit. Okay, that is better. Let me go do the other side. That's definitely better. We've got a little gap there. Can probably even go a tiny bit more, give me a little more clearance, but it evened this out right here. And then this side here, same thing. All right, that is definitely better. It's definitely down lower here too. And this side's pretty decent as well. I really want to figure out that side over there. This is really bugging me. All right, I feel like we're getting close. Still a lot of inward pressure on both of these panels on the side, and I cannot get that out. Now in my mind it makes sense to try to like push down on this and push up on the bottom to like squeeze that out to see if it would relieve pressure. The bad thing about it is it's really putting a lot of force on the cowl when I close the hood. It's dragging on the cowling. You can see how it pops that out, and that's kind of what I need it to do. Just gonna keep playing with it, see what happens. Okay, that made a difference, that helped. Now it's just right here instead of all the way up here. This actually came out. I'm gonna have to get over that though. There's not much I can do about that. See, it's sitting really good. When I drop it, it's sitting down actually really nice. And I'm pretty good on the front, so I really don't want to mess with it anymore. Boy, these things are just funky. They're definitely challenging. All right, guys, underneath the hood, I figured something out here. If I put a piece of stacked rubber, I just got some rubber washers here. If I take these and I stick them in between that brace in the outside, that pushes that out. Interesting thing is you can see all the shims in here from the factory. And there's 2 screws under here, and then there's all these shims stacked in here. Now, all the original, whatever this stuff was that they used between the metal and the hood is all gone too, so that doesn't help me. Either I just try to stack some rubber in there like that to push that panel out. I'm afraid to mess with this, honestly. There's no way I'm gonna get this stuff apart without it completely getting destroyed. But you can see where these things are notched here and here. So I think if I got these bolts out and replaced them, push that bracket outward, that would push this outward, which is effectively what this is doing. Let's see, the low spot is right here. Take 3 of these things, shoehorn them in here. Oh yeah, now it's way too far. Take that 3rd one out. See, and that's pretty good there. It's off the cowl now. I can live with an opening right here, you know, it's not perfect. I can live with that. I just don't want it dragging on the cowl, you know. All right, it was the same thing over here too. I put 2 of these things in there, and now it's off the cowl all the way up. And the hood closes nicely. Well, that one broke loose. That's good. Okay, got them out. Get the shims out of here. Ow. Ow. Those are the shims that are in there underneath that bracket. Pretty simple way they do this, and it makes sense, I guess. Okay, so there's only 3 on this side. I may not need any of them at all. I don't know. And then I'll just try to push this together and clamp it. When you lift up on this, it pushes that out, so that makes sense. It's nice to learn something new every day. All right, guys, I got some bolts, and I'm going to try this without shims first, just to see what it does. I can see it push out when I tighten the bolt. Very interesting. Okay, let's see if we're even. Wow. All right, well, it pulled this way in, which in turn pushed this out. So we got to put some shims back in. I just wanted to see where it was at. This side actually doesn't look all that bad. Okay. After fighting this thing for a little bit, put in 2 shims on both sides. I ended up putting a 3rd shim over here to bring this out a little bit closer to the fender. And then over here is looking pretty decent as well. I am pretty much fine with that. So what I did was basically made a wedge out of the rubber, and I just pushed it in there until it pushed this panel out to the right dimension. I tried to push this out as much as I could, but it just wasn't quite working out right. I just couldn't get it to, I couldn't get these 2 to jive, you know, together to make it even and push this out. So doing a rubber wedge in here helped me out. So I'll figure something out in here. I think for the most part, I think I'm gonna call it good. I mean, I can sit here and chase my tail for days doing it. You know, it moves around so much. These hoods flex so much. Yeah, this is definitely not modern car panel gap territory. Now I can just bend this down, put a slight arc in this. Might be too much, a little bit too much. All right, that should be fine. All right, guys, I'm starting to get this corner kind of put together. So I just built this piece right here, fill in, go down into the corner. Gap looks like it's okay. And then I just tack welded this back together again where I cut it. All right, I'm all out of good wheels, so I think I've got it roughed in good enough. Let's see how it fits anyway. I'm hitting that bolt back there. There we go. Well, it ain't perfect. I got a little overzealous right there, but I got to finish welding the inside of it anyway and this corner out a little more, so I'll be able to kind of blend that in a little bit better. I mean, it looks better than it was, you know. At least now it looks the part. You know, it's better than that. Actually, if I leave it a little chunky like that, it'll kind of match the rust over here, you know, so, because this is probably where it would rust out normally. I don't need to go too crazy on it, you know. Well, there's where I'm at. I'm gonna call the video here. I wasn't supposed to be working this weekend, but the wife took off with her sister for the day, go hang out with their aunt. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll work on the hood for a little bit. This will be a 2-part deal, for sure. This ended up being a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. As usual with everything with this, I was thinking this was gonna be a lot easier to fit than it was. And I've probably got, realistically, with paint and everything, a couple more days left into finishing it off. We'll call that good for now. Quick short video for you guys. I don't know how short this is gonna end up being. Feels like it might be a normal length. And don't forget, turn this crap off and go out there and work on your junk. I know a lot of you guys have talked about how I've helped motivate you, so I'm glad to hear it, but get out there and get working on your stuff. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 2. Have a great day.